Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is August the 23rd, 2020, and today we're going to be taking a look at the number 666 in the Bible. Now I have done a video on this before, but I did not go into great detail. I kind of figured everyone knew the story of Solomon when I did that video, and I didn't want it to be a real long video, but I kind of feel like I need to go into more detail to explain. I don't think everyone got the point that I was trying to make without me going into great detail. And that's just the way it is sometimes. So let's go ahead and we'll go through it. Also, just quickly, I don't know if I'm going to go into Daniel 3. I did mention it before that I might go into Daniel 3. I'll just tell you now in case I don't go there. I wanted to go there because when we read through Revelation 13:1, you are going to see an image of kind of a forced worship. And that is happening in Daniel 3 as well. And you see elements of that as well with King Solomon. The point I was going to make with going to Daniel 3 is that the number 666 is not associated with King Nebuchadnezzar in that book. It's the number 66 is, there's two sixes, but not the number 666. So it cannot be forced worship. And we may actually go to Ezekiel 28 and where it speaks about King Tyre. And he comes right out and says that you are trying to take, and you put yourself up as God. And there's no number 666 associated there. That would have been the prime example if it was worship or first worship. That would have been the perfect place to put 666. And so we may actually go there. But right now I don't think I need Daniel 3. But I am going to do this over and I'm going to give you more details about King Solomon than I did before. So let's go ahead. We're going to read through Revelation 13 so we can get a good look at the beast and what he is doing. And then we'll go to the 1 Kings chapter 10 to look at the other example of 666. Okay, Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. One moment. Okay. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon its horns 10 crowns, and upon its heads the name of blasphemy. Now we did go over this, I think, under the 4th trumpet, maybe? A beast, for those of you that don't know, is when 2 or more people come into agreement on one matter. Then, just as you have 2 people make a choice, make a church, 2 or more people in agreement upon a matter is considered a force that has to be reckoned with, and it is called a beast in the Bible. In this case, the beast is made up of 7 heads and 10 horns, and then it gives further description in the next verse. The heads, of course, are mountains, and mountains are great religions. That's in Revelation 17, and then the horns are powers that have access to armies. The horns tend to leave carnage wherever they go. And in this case, the horns are the confederacies. I think that's what the Bible calls them. No, they say it's a conspiracy. They say it's like the Illuminati, those type of people. It's that's who the horns are. And upon his horns, 10 crowns, and they've gotten power here, as you see. I think Revelation 17 or 18, 1 to 2, said that they were going to destroy the first beast, or not the first beast, the beast of Revelation 17 and 18, and then they would share power with this beast. And upon his head, the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. All of this, the leopard, the bear, the lion, all of these are countries, which we went over in Daniel 7. One moment. Okay, let's continue. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Okay, I did highlight this because because the beast has established itself as a religious institution. It talks about worship. It talks about mountains, the 7 heads being 7 mountains. That's in Revelation 17, which is a religious institution. When he speaks great things, these are the words. This is doctrine. This is wisdom. Okay? And that is compatible to what we're going to read in verse 10, so I wanted to call your attention to it. And it says, There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. 42 being the number means that they will persecute the true saints of God. That's what that number means. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell therein, because of the Sunday law, of course. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindred and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of the life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. So that's the first beast. We are going to also take a look at the second beast, because the second beast is going to, he serves the first beast. So it is it is helpful. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Now the image, of course, is of Sunday. The beast has Sunday, just as Yahweh has his Sabbath. They each have their day. So the image to the beast, as we read in the next couple of verses, it's going to be to make a law enforcing Sunday. Same as King Nebuchadnezzar did in our example for our time, which is Revelation 3. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Worship Sunday. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their forehead, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So this is where we get the 666. And it says that no man is going to be able to buy or sell, save he that has the mark, which is the mark of the beast is Sunday worship. Now the name of the beast reflects the character, and you can actually use that in real life today. If you have the name of your husband or your spouse, then what your spouse does is reflecting upon your name. It makes you look good or bad. Same thing with your children. If your children bear your name, then what they do and how they perform in this world is a reflection upon you. In this particular case, that's also going to be your employer. Any person who bears your name, it can be an immediate reflection upon you. And it used to be that it didn't really reflect on your employee, but nowadays, in the age of social media, employers have that expectation as well, for you to represent them as a decent and to a fair degree. Most of them do, not all of them. Anyway, because this is a religious institution, of course, the name is not going to be, so and so incorporated. It is Protestant. I don't want to call out any religions, but I'm just going to say, you take your pick: Protestant, I have to say the Catholic because it's its own religion. Muslim, whatever the religion is, if you bear that name, then you bear the name of that beast. You are a part of that institution. And of course, there's some carryover with all of these. So then you have the mark, you have the name, and you have the number of the name, which is what we're going to be talking about here in 1 Kings chapter 10. This is the other example of 666, and it's used with King Solomon. So let's read through it, and then we're going to read down. The problem with the thing about 666 is that it is the number of a man. So you have to look at the entire man. And that's why it's so hard to pin down one thing. Because King Solomon, in many ways, had a lot in common with the man or the beast of Revelation 13. I just happen to think that this is the exclusive thing that they have in common. So let's go on and we'll take a look and you can decide. Now the weight of the gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. Besides that, he had of the merchantmen and of the traffic of the spice merchants and of all the kings of Arabia and of the governors of the country. And King Solomon made 200 targets of beaten gold, 600 shekels of gold went to one target, and he made 300 shields of beaten gold, and 3 pounds of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the best gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side on the place of the seat, and the 2 lions stood beside the stays. This goes all the way down to 25, you guys. And 12 lions stood there, one on one side and one on the other, upon the 6 steps. And there was not the like made in any kingdom. And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. For the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish, with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory and apes and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth for riches and for wisdom. And all the earth sought to Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. And they brought every man his present, vessels of silver and vessels of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, a rate year by year. So it went down to 25 because if you don't read down to 25, you don't really know what's going on up here in 14, because it doesn't tell you until you get down to 25 that this is why they're bringing it. Okay, so let's go back at the very beginning, and we're going to go through this step by step now. I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to read down so you could see what was going on, because really they could have just put this 14, and then they could have just put 24 and 25, and it would have been done. But that's not the way it's written. It tells you, it jumps from Queen Sheba. And part 9 is actually part of the story of Queen Sheba. It jumps from Hiram to Queen, which is 1 Kings chapter 9, to Queen Sheba, to the gold. If you don't know what you're looking at, it really seems out of order. But there's kind of a logic to this, that when you read through it and you know what you're looking at, it's really kind of amazing, actually. I'm impressed with Solomon. Now I'm going to say some things about Solomon. So I do want to preface it with the fact that we know that Solomon did repent and was saved. He is saved. He will be in heaven. He did eventually repent. I feel the need to say that because I am going to be going into detail here about Solomon, and so I'm going to say a lot of things about him that may come across as pretty bad. Now we know that Solomon he went through some times. He really did. But he did eventually repent, and he will be in heaven. Okay. And Sister White tells us that, and I don't know. I think history has it that he did repent. I can't remember. I don't think it's in the. I don't know if it's in the Bible, to be honest with you. I just have kind of always known it, so I don't know where I know it from. But he will be in heaven. So the way to gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 603 score and 6 talents of gold. Now I want you to keep in mind, because I'm going to make a commentary on all of these lines. I think I want you to keep in mind that Solomon was the wisest person in the world. He's the wisest person that has ever lived, and he is the wisest person that will ever live. For the most part, we know that because it was a promise from God. So he told him he would give him wisdom that no one else would be able to match. And he told him he was going to give him that wisdom so that he could judge his people righteously. So if Solomon was the wisest person in the world, it can only be intentional because he wanted to be associated with 603 score and 6 talents of gold. If not, then this would not have been separate. He could have had them bring a little bit of gold. He could have had the merchantmen bring gold, the king of Arabia, all of this. He could have added anything to that to change that number. That's not what was done. I feel the need to go up and read the Queen of Sheba and how impressed she was with Solomon's wisdom, to impress upon you that Solomon really was very wise to what was going on here when he associated himself with the number 603 score and 6. He knew exactly what it meant, and he knew what he was doing. I'll show you another example, a quick one, that we don't have to go through Queen Sheba. Now we know that the number 5 means good. Something good happens to the saint, and something that is not good or bad happens to those that are against the people of God. So let's hold on a moment. Here we go, right here. Sorry about that. I started to pause you. I thought I could find it quicker. Okay. Hold on. Okay, we're just going to start at 19. I'm not sure if I need 19, but rather than have you wait any longer, let's just read it together. And all the cities of store that Solomon had, and cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion, and all the people that were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel, their children were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able to utterly destroy. Upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bond service unto this day. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots, and his horsemen. They were chief officers that were over Solomon. These were the chief officers that were over Solomon's work, 550, which bear rule over the people that wrought in the work. So he knew exactly what he was doing here when he used 550, because he was rewarding his people as servants of God. And then the people that were not of God, they were bondservants. When you come to Queen Sheba, let's read it just because I want to talk about it. And when the Queen of Sheba had heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she had come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up into the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. It took her breath away. But keep in mind what's being said here. Queen Sheba her breath was taken away by their apparel, by his cupbearers, by the way that he ascended up into the house of his Lord. Things that you would think of as quite simple. Even the simplest things reflected the wisdom of Solomon. This is how great of a man he was. That everything was calculated and precise. And she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and of thy wisdom. Howbeit, I believed not the words until I came, and mine eyes had seen it, and behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighteth in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loveth Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice. And she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as those which the Queen of Sheba gave unto King Solomon. Now, you would think that that would be the end of it, right? Because it starts into Hiram. But no, it's going to go back to her in just a moment. It just interposes this in the middle of the story because of his relationship with Hiram. It says, in the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from... So she gave him spices, which was very nice. And the navy also of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great plenty of almond trees and precious stones. And the king made of the almond trees pillars from the house of the Lord, and for the king's house harps also and psalteries for singers. There came no such almond trees, nor were seen unto this day. The very best. And King Solomon. So now we go back to the queen. I'm going to have to take you up to look at Hiram. We have to do the comparison now. And King Solomon gave unto the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, besides that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. Now I just want you to consider here. Now, I'm not real skilled as far as men-wise is concerned. But men don't get the attention that we women get. That's something that we don't know when we're growing up. We kind of have to learn that. Women get praised all of the time, all of their lives from men. It just comes constantly. And sometimes we get so much praise it gets on our nerves because we don't believe you half the time. Okay, so men, however, men don't get praised like that, ladies. They just don't. They don't. Some men don't get praised at all unless they look real good. You know, they don't have women coming up to them telling them how great they are, how beautiful they are, all that kind of stuff. No. So when a man has a woman that gives him some attention and thinks he's absolutely wonderful, you know, you like that person. That's just natural. That's just natural. That's an ordinary man. Solomon is a king. It's hard to give Solomon the gratuity that you would give an average guy. Because Solomon has women, he is that guy that does get praise from everybody. Not to mention he's so smart and he's a king. But, however, here's King Solomon, and Queen of Sheba says to him, "Oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're so smart." And he gives her anything that he wants, anything she wants that she desires. Amen. So now we have to go and make the comparison to King to King Harold. I didn't want to do this. I really didn't. I thought I could do it without going into this again, but hold on a moment. So here, he provided King Solomon. Oh, it tells you right here. Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees and with gold, according to all his desire. Then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. And Hiram came out of Tyre. Now let me just tell you something about Hiram and Tyre. Tyre was a seaport. Tyre was a very blessed country. The thing about the seaport was people would travel. They would travel from coast to coast for goods and, for merchandise, right? So they would dock at Tyre. And so they would need services from Tyre. So if they needed even a hotel room, food, this, that, and the other, if they had the best spices that they just came and brought, they would trade that. And so Tyre became wealthy. Tyre was extremely rich beyond belief. Not to mention that it was very blessed by God. They had trees. I don't know if it mentions it in this part. They had trees that could only be found in Tyre. Solomon acknowledges this when he writes to Tyre and asks for his help. Of course, because it was so wealthy, the greatest sculptors were there. No, I'm not saying Solomon had to go to Tyre. He could have put his faith in, and Sister White is clear about this, he could have and should have put his faith in God to provide him with the craftsmen to do his work and to provide him with what he needed in order to build the temple. Solomon didn't do that, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that Tyre had what he needed, and Tyre furnished him with everything that he needed in order to build not only his temple, but his own personal home. So King Solomon sent Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. Verse 12, and Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, what cities are these which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day. Kabul is not a word, but it rhymes with good for nothing. So that's what they called it. It was like a slang for good for nothing. And Hiram sent to the king 60 talents of gold. So he gave him more gold. And this is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised for to build the house of the Lord and his own house in Milo and the wall. Okay, we don't need that. But the point is that Hiram gave him everything he needed in order to build his house and the house of God and the house of God. So, and he sends him his waste. He's clinging on to what he has, and he sends him his waste. Queen Sheba, she was very generous. She's a queen now. She comes in and she praises him, and he's throwing stuff at her. Here, take this too. Take this. Take this. There you go. You can have that. A little bit of praise. And he just loses it. And that's why it stops talking about Queen Sheba here, hold on a moment, in verse 11, and reminds us of the treatment that Hiram received. And then it picks up and ends the relationship with Queen of Sheba. Queen of Sheba just gave him a little praise. She was generous with the spices and all that, but that's nothing compared to building the house of your God. In your own house. Come on. There has to be some sort of distinguishing. There's anyway. Let's move on. So now we're gonna get to the part that I really wanted to talk about. Oh. No, we're not. Now we're going to have to go into a second video. We're going to stop there. We're going to come back, and then we're going to start addressing 1 Kings 14 through 25. All right. If you have any questions, leave them below. Bye.